We promised you comparisons, and we've got your comparisons. First up to challenge our Honda CR-V long-term tester is the Ford Escape, heavily refreshed for 2017, but still a sporty little ute that provides a little bit of excitement along with its practicality. The CR-V, on the other hand, is all new for 2017 and appeals more to our logical sides with its efficiency, spaciousness, and value. With its punchy 2-liter Ecoboost compared to the Honda's thrifty 1.5, the decision might ultimately come down to whether you prefer a little more sport or utility in your compact crossover. Normally, I don't go anywhere near the topic of styling, but in this case, I'll break my silence. The CR-V isn't exactly ugly, and it has a handsome profile, but it's got a lot going on in that grille, and the tailgate seems like it's trying to compete for attention with the front. In contrast, the Escape has a clean, simple flow all the way around and takes advantage of its tidy dimensions with a sporty, compact look. Inside, the tables are turned, and it is the Escape that seems fussy and a bit confusing compared to the CR-V's clean, straightforward layout. But enough about how they look. Let's talk about how they drive. When it comes to power, it's not really a fair fight. We asked for fully loaded models, and that means the Escape is powered by a 2.0-liter Ecoboost that pumps out 245 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque. Unlike many recent turbocharged power plants that deliver maximum torque before 2,000 RPM, the 2.0 Ecoboost reaches peak torque at 3,000 RPM, and you certainly feel it when it comes on, surging ahead a bit wildly for a little family vehicle. The 6-speed transmission keeps up well enough, but it can't match the smarts, smoothness, and responsiveness of Honda's CVT. Then again, the transmission really doesn't need to be all that clever, because 245 horsepower and 275 pound-feet is more than enough in any situation, even at 3,765 pounds, so it leaps away from lights and easily steps out for passing moves at highway speeds without a worry. All that enthusiasm comes at a price, and that price is paid at the pumps. The EPA estimates the Escape 2.0 Ecoboost with all-wheel drive at 20 miles per gallon in the city, 27 on the highway, and 23 combined, and we haven't yet broken out of the teens in our time with it. If efficiency is top of mind, Ford offers a couple of thriftier engine choices, one of them a 1.5-liter turbo, just like the CR-V, but it has less power, torque, and worse fuel consumption than the CR-V's turbo. Of course, compact crossovers aren't meant for the drag strip, and how comfortable they are is as important to many as passing power. The Escape, in this titanium trim with its 18-inch wheels, strays perhaps a bit too far to the sport end of the spectrum. While the decent handling is appreciated, I rediscovered how poor the roads are on my route home, the lumpy, rutted pavement jarring the cabin a little too frequently. While the cabin is quieter at highway speeds, thanks largely to the more powerful engine that doesn't have to work as hard, the Escape has more vibrations and clunks that the CR-V seems to have completely dialed out. The front seat is spacious and airy, with heated seats and steering wheel for cold winter mornings, but there's a weird lump in the driver's seat that seems to be jamming into my tailbone. I just can't get entirely comfortable. The Escape's driving position is very natural, and visibility is good everywhere that it needs to be. Thick rear pillars obstruct the view out back, but a backup camera with rear cross traffic alert more than compensates for the limited visibility. With the front seat set for an adult, the backseat of the Escape meets minimum adult space requirements, although the seats themselves feel a touch flat and firm, so any passengers out of child seats might find them tiring on longer road trips. Child seat installation is mostly uneventful, but the flap that covers the gap when the seats are folded obstructs access when securing the tether behind the seat. Cargo space in the trunk is a healthy 34 cubic feet, which grows to 68 cubic feet with the rear seats folded, and I still get a kick out of Ford's magical power tailgate opening trick. When it comes to toys and tech, the Ford Escape is right there with the CR-V and then some. The Escape has all the latest driving aids, from adaptive cruise with lane keep assist to blind spot monitor and forward collision alert. But it takes things a step further with the optional parallel or perpendicular self-parking system. Okay, I actually find those systems too particular about the conditions required to find a suitable spot, and too slow for me to use them frequently. But for some that dread parking and have the patience, or just want to wow friends and bystanders, it's a pretty cool party trick. Adaptive Cruise, which I find is a godsend on the busy commute downtown, is far more easy to work with and much more useful on a day-to-day basis. Unfortunately, the Ford system cuts out when you drop below 10 miles per hour, so it's no help in start-stop crawling, which is when you most want the system to take over. Finally, Sync has gone from a slow, clunky, crash-prone pariah to a simple, slick interface in the span of a couple generations, and I was really impressed by the latest evolution. Gone is the 4-quadrant setup for a more conventional layout with a navigation bar across the bottom. But most importantly, response times are quick enough to not be left waiting for every screen to load. Ergonomically, there's a handy ledge that provides shade for the screen and an anchor for your fingers when using your thumb, and a blank area below the central volume knob and control buttons where you can rest the heel of your hand or wrist when using fingers to enter destinations or hitting icons on the screen. Having a long-term tester in a comparison is a little unfair because at times it feels like coming home. Then again, it's easy to feel like coming home in the CR-V, not because it feels as big as a house, more so just because it feels like that comfortable chair in your den that you always love to sit in. Though an inch shorter than the Escape in wheelbase, it outstretches it by a couple inches in length, translating into that generous trunk of almost 40 cubic feet, growing to 75 when dropping the rear seats, which you can do using the handy levers at the side of the cargo bay. And seriously, the rear seat is just ridiculously spacious. Considering the wheelbase of the CR-V is shorter than the Escape, I really don't know where all that space comes from, but it's amazing. New for this generation of CR-V is this 1.5-liter turbo. To be honest, I don't particularly love it, especially when driven back-to-back with the Escape's 2.0 Ecoboost. But I gotta admit, it gets the job done. You'll rarely feel the full fury of its 190 horsepower since they only arrive at 5,600 RPM, but it's preceded by such a whining ruckus that you are likely to lift off the throttle and accept gentle acceleration instead. The 179 pound-feet are best described as adequate, thankfully arriving at 2,000 RPM and available right up to 5,000 RPM, though you are not likely to get even that far up the tack if you prefer a quiet cabin. Don't get me wrong, the CR-V isn't actually slow, it's just unpleasant to push it that hard. But if you switch off the Econ mode, drop the transmission into Sport, and can put up with a bit of a racket, the CR-V can get moving, especially with all four wheels powering it forward in all-wheel drive trims. The transmission is continuously variable, meaning it is quick and responsive and completely smooth, but can drone on at higher RPMs, which this small engine requires if you tend to move along with traffic in the fast lane. Forget that marketing departments added Sport to the utility vehicle name. Crossovers are the culmination of generations and decades of refining the product that average drivers want when they need to schlep their kids around. Easy to load, easy to get into and out of, easy to drive, and easy to park. That is what matters. To that end, the CR-V gets it oh so right. The steering is light but natural, and every action of the steering wheel is met with a seemingly equal reaction by the vehicle. Throttle, same. Brakes, ditto. Impressively, there's another layer of quality underpinning the driving experience, with a platform that feels incredibly solid and the suspension carefully designed to afford maximum compliance and comfort without being sloppy or unnerving when taking a turn at higher speeds or having to execute an emergency avoidance maneuver. Every bit of its driving experience screams a family hauler, and it does so superbly. The 2017 CR-V brings the full arsenal of Honda's active safety suite, but it's two features in particular that stand out in my mind: the adaptive cruise and rear cross-traffic alert. Rear cross-traffic alert adds another couple sets of eyes looking both ways when backing out of driveways or parking spaces, which is very reassuring in mall parking lots or residential neighborhoods. If the system detects objects moving on a path that will cross behind the vehicle, the car will provide an audible warning with red flashing arrows on the display to let you know of the risk. I might start to sound like a broken record, but adaptive cruise has got to be one of my favorite innovations in recent years, taking a huge amount of stress out of the morning commute. The CR-V system is the total package too, able to slow down to a full stop and resume driving if only at a standstill for a few seconds. If I were to pick a fault, it's that the gap can only be reduced, jumping back up to the maximum after reaching the minimum gap, while Ford's system can be increased or decreased step by step. If you're keeping score, it's been a back and forth affair. The Escape appealing to our thirst for power, but the CR-V punching back with its calm capability and faultless execution. Well, except for that damn slow touchscreen. But the kicker, as always, is price. While both start at around 24 grand, the CR-V maxes out just short of 35,000 with everything I could imagine wanting, except for those cooled seats, of course. The Escape blows right by it by $4,000. Skip the 2.0 Ecoboost and you can get it closer to the CR-V, but then you're short on power and efficiency still isn't all that great. Might as well stick with the 2.0 and skimp on the options. And in my mind, that is what it comes down to. The Escape is a riot with this overkill engine, but it just seems silly to me to lean that way when shopping for a compact crossover. Then again, if you buy it over the CR-V based on looks alone, you wouldn't hear any arguments from me. The Ford Escape may drive a bit better and is undeniably faster, but the Honda CR-V is more efficient, more comfortable, more practical, and better value, making it an easy choice for me.